this meeting been properly noticed?
Yes, it has.
Okay, we'll do a roll call vote by everybody introducing themselves. Rocky?
Rocky Gilner, District 2.
Chuck Quick, District 5.
Teresa Plut,
Just the committee members, please.
Jody Shapey, District 7.
Bruce Knockreiner, citizen member.
I'm Barb Morgan, District 6. Go ahead.
Dustin Grant, Planning and Zoning Administrator.
Hannah Landon, Recording Secretary.
Thank you. We now need a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, raise your hand and say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Approve the previous minutes from March 3rd. We have a motion from Chuck. A
I'll second.
Jody second. Okay. All in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
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 Approve, disapprove? Okay, we'll go into the public hearings. We're going to start with, has this meeting been, we did that. Purpose of the public hearings, we'll start with Ashley and Dennis. Yep. I'll go on mute.
Can you hear me now?
hello.
Yes, we can. It'll be up to Dusty now to read the request.
Yep, just give me 1 second here. All right, the first portion of the application, or the first application is Ashley and Dennis Smeshko. Rezoning request of a portion of a parcel, 10 acres from A115 exclusive ag. Hold on. Sorry. Reopen a tabled application of a rezoning request of a parcel, 25 acres from A115 exclusive ag to PR planned residential on property located in the southeast quarter, section 25, township 17 north, range 6 east, town of Adams, Adams County. Address is 2387 7th Ave. This was an application that was previously before the board a few months ago. At that time, the board had concerns about it not matching the comprehensive plan and requested that the town address that matter one way or the other. The town has gone through the entire process and has amended their comprehensive plan to make to a point where they feel that this is compliant or consistent with the with their comprehensive plan now. There has been quite a bit of correspondence. All that was online, a number of different versions of a business plan. There was one, I think the most recent was about a week and a half ago. Other than that, that's so the first portion is just the rezone part, which would then allow them to be able to even apply for the conditional use, which is the second application.
Was there any letters? Against the rezone?
Yeah, the first one would be, and like I said, I think you have seen these. To the Board of Supervisors, my name is James Kolinsky, owner of the property abutting the above referenced property in the north, west, and south, including the property located at 2383 7th Ave. It is my understanding that your meeting on April 7th, the board will consider 2 rezoning requests for Ashley and Dennis Smeshko. I understand these revised zoning requests list the owner's plans for 10 glamping sites with a 40 occupancy capacity. This is a very significant business request. Now is the time for the township, county zoning boards to specifically list the zoning requirements that must be met to provide safe water, sewage, and environmental control on this business facility. What zoning conditions must the new owner comply with for this large business occupancy to safely supply clean water and pollution control on the sewage on the property? This must be clearly established before approval. Normally, zoning requirements are established for new business requests in any Wisconsin township or county before approval. Is this new business going to be allowed to operate with porta potties and a water supply from hoses or a faucet from their residence. Further expansion is planned for 40 sites and 160 occupants with no plans to require safe water and sewer. I understand just recently that 2 toilets and 2 showers previously planned for occupant support were found to be plumbed, sewered into barrels in the ground. There must be a township county zoning requirements made to correct the situation for the safety of my residents and neighbors. These requests are in direct conflict with the township's current comprehensive plan goals and objectives. Please refer to conditional use document 40521, specifically section B1 as it pertains to drainage, sewerage, and water systems for this substantial occupancy. Also, please consider Rule C3 and the continued new reapplication in less than 1 year. I am asking the county zoning board to review all the concerns listed above before any further action is taken to approve the zoning request. On this basis, I am asking you to deny these current requests. Regards, James Kolinsky. Okay,
Okay, Ashley, do you want to speak to the committee and tell them what you want? You're muted. You're muted.
Would you like me to respond just to that one letter or read what I have put together for you?
I think if she reads what she put together, I think that should answer his questions, some of them.
The one question I will put, just as a bathroom, just so you are aware, we did have a bathroom in the shed that we would have liked to have used. We found out that it was a 55-gallon drum that was buried. So we made the decision not to use those bathrooms. We put a call out to Central Wisconsin, Jody Septics, about putting a new septic in. We just won't be able to do that this coming camping season. So I've talked to Dusty to get the proper number of porta potties until that problem with the septic is fixed and that bathroom could be used, just so you were aware of that one concern. But you'd like me to go ahead and read this? Okay. Well, good afternoon and thank you. My name is Ashley Schmeichel and I am seeking a conditional use for a campground at my property, 2387 7th Avenue, Grand Marsh, Wisconsin. I am also asking that the property be zoned as planned residential, not as woodlands, now that it is consistent with the town's comprehensive plan. Before I address the small number of objections to our cause, I would like to explain what it is that I am trying to achieve. I've submitted our business plan as well as amendments if you'd like to follow along. As I mentioned before, my name is Ashley. I've worked in the hospitality management industry for the past 15 years. I've worked in Palm Springs, Las Vegas, Denver, sending families on vacations for most of my career. When the world shut down and I was laid off last year, I went to the drawing board to see if there was a way that I could still support my family through these difficult times. I've rented properties on Airbnb for the last 7 years and noticed that outdoor vacation sales were up over 300% due to COVID concerns. Camping, ecotourism, and outdoor destinations are all the rage right now. There is even a huge market for vacationers to pitch a tent on a farm and actually help with the chores. After looking at the local economy, my resources and passions, I found that this was the best fit for my family to open a small glamping campground. Glamping is glamorous camping, by the way. The idea that we have come up with and eventually whittled down to is this. We plan to have 6 campsites on our 25-acre parcel this summer. These sites are fully equipped with tents, beds, and everything else the camper will need to have a turnkey campsite. Each tent is different. We have a bubble tent, a few canvas safari tents, as well as tensile tree tents. They actually hang from the trees. We are marketing to groups since the entire campground is just one reservation. When someone books us, they book the whole thing. The market we have targeted is nature lovers and people looking to reconnect with family. Most of our guests will engage in nature walks, yoga, meditation, and other stress relieving practices. We will offer crafts, guided meditation, and yoga for those who want to unwind with some creativity. Guests will camp by the standards of no trace camping. We take our environmental responsibility very seriously. Guests will be composting food waste and separating their recycling. Absolutely no suntan oils or lotions will be allowed anywhere near the pond. Again, the people coming to our campground are seeking this type of ecotourism and sign an extensive list of rules to follow when they are at our home. There will be a common area with enough restroom facilities to accommodate a maximum of 40 people. I do not see us accommodating 40 people, though. It's my projection that we'll have anywhere from 10 to 15 people at any given time. This concept is new and I am excited to be a part of it. The American dream is to be able to work your own land and support your family. This idea would do that as well as be a positive impact on our community. I know we cannot accommodate large numbers of people, which is actually a very small operation, but after speaking with business owners in the community like Tracy at Wood and Nickel, Don at Cedar Shack, Mary at Mertz, Ace County Market, the list goes on. Oops, sorry, I lost my spot. That they're shared the same enthusiasm and excitement for what we are trying to do. The feeling is shared that our town and community could use any help we can get when it comes to getting tourists into our county to spend money and boost our local economy. A lot of people and some neighbors like Linda Farg on Duck Creek Avenue have even asked me to sit down with them and help them with similar ideas since rural tourism is in, which brings me to my next point. I have two neighbors, one specifically, who vehemently does not want me there. This neighbor has found two other neighbors to speak up and say they think it's a bad idea. We have been trying to make this a reality since August of 2020. I have worked with the town of Adams and my community for months to come up to a resolution. I would like to address the concerns that have been brought up. And now that there's a new one, especially since many of my accusations are slanderous in nature. When I originally came up with the idea, I did want to accommodate between 150 to 200 people as a commercial campground. Since that original business plan, I have listened, digested, acted on every single concern anyone has had with what I'm trying to do. We are not and will not seek a commercial rezone. I have reduced the number that we can accommodate from 200 down to 20. We are now talking about the number of people you'd expect to see at a child's birthday party camping in my literal backyard. I have seen more people than that during hunting season at my neighbor's cabin. So clearly the concern about driving away wildlife only applies to me and my family. Property values were also brought up. I would like to reiterate that we are not seeking a commercial rezone, that the house would remain residential and would have to be sold as such. There have been 2 appraisals done in the last 6 months, one before I bought it and one after I finished an interior remodel. In 3 months, I was able to raise my property value by over $60,000, and I haven't even been able to work on the outside yet. So in fact, I have subsequently raised the property values around me. I would also like it noted that I find this particular accusation offensive because when I drive past my neighbors' properties and see mounds of garbage, broken vehicles, machinery, and other items to make it look like a junkyard, I have had 4 dumpsters of garbage removed just from the previous owners alone. So is the property value truly a concern here? Because if it is, that's a lot of the pot calling the kettle black right there. Also, concerns were brought up about how the DNR would feel about people camping in the woods. I was also accused that my pond is not to code or acceptable by the DNR. I've spoken to Kathy, who works for the DNR Wetland Preservation at 920-893-8531. And it is her and the DNR's position that the pond was put back in the 1980s, and there is a statute of limitations for any pond in a wetland area where fill was used that has been long since exceeded when referencing my property. She also said that I would not need the DNR's permission in order for her to move forward. Another concern was that property lines would be crossed. We have clearly marked where campers are allowed to be. There isn't a place that they can go with it is within 100 feet of the property line. Each reservation will also be walked around with me personally, and the property lines are enforced by trail cams. I realized that when I was walking the lot lines, I realized that I may have found the reason my neighbors do not want people on my land. I found a tree stand, a permanent, nice tree stand at the corner of mine and Mr. Kalinsky's property. This tree stand is at the very corner of the lot and overlooks the entire marshland, most of which is mine. It is my belief after talking to the previous owners of my house that our neighbors have been hunting, shooting over, and walking over lot lines for a number of years now. Dennis Johnson, who I bought the house from, tells me that the Kalinsky family has used both that marsh and the land as if it was their own for decades. And I believe that is the real reason that my neighbors don't want any campers there, because they want to continue to hunt the land, which why these problems continue to come up over, and every time we accommodate one concern they have, a new concern comes up. At the most recent town meeting, after going through every concern and showing that we are willing to work with our neighbors in every aspect to make this acceptable for everyone, Mr. Kalinsky admitted that I have been very easy to work with and have been willing to accommodate his requests as a neighbor, and that he simply doesn't want us there. So at what point do we say is enough enough? If Mr. Kalinsky wanted to hunt the land, he had every opportunity to buy it. I believe that my town, my county, and my community I've shown them all the reasons why this is a wonderful idea. I believe my neighbors have not been able to produce one legitimate reason as to why this should not happen and have turned to slander and what ifs in order to prevent it. The town hall members were able to see this. My community was able to see this, and most of my neighbors came to this realization as well. My family and I, we are good people. The people we are marketing to are good people with good intentions. This is a good idea. It's good for the community and for the people traveling, as well as me and my family. We have put great time and effort into making sure this is a respectful success for Adams County. I hope that the county board sees this as well and passes my request. Thank you for taking the time to hear my request. And of course, I am open to any questions you may have. Thank you.
Any questions from the committee?
Yes, I've Bruce Knockler, citizens member. Do you live on property, Ashley?
I do. It's my home.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions from the committee? Jody? Mm-hmm. You're going to wait? Okay. Any other questions on the rezone? All right. Is there anyone out that wants to speak for on the rezoning for it? We need your name and address, please. Is there anyone out there?
Yes.
Please state your name and address.
William Euclid, 2314 11th Avenue, Adams, Wisconsin, town of Adams supervisor.
And you're saying that you're for this?
I'd like to make comments if possible.
Yes, this is your time.
All right. I would like to indicate that the town board had, as Ashley has said, been working on this for quite some time. And she has presented and represented items. The individuals that have come to our meetings that had objected have not provided any factual proof of their reasons for objecting. One of them happened to be that property values would decrease. We asked for an appraisal that would indicate that. We never received any evidence of that happening. There was indication that it would destroy the hunting. We asked for any indications from the DNR or a wildlife management individual that would verify that. Nothing was presented. I could go down the list of everything, but none of the items that were ever brought up were backed up with fact. They were hearsay information. The town board understood that we, as a town board, had a responsibility to protect the property if there were legitimate complaints and reasons and logics. And I'm not speaking for the town board at this time. I'm speaking as a supervisor. I always believe that if I'm going to vote in favor of something or against something, it would be based upon, would I like this next to me? And after seeing everything and hearing everything that the individuals presented in regards to this campgrounds, I felt there's much worse that could happen. And this is a very good operation from what we have seen and what we've heard. Now, will we be watching? Yes. I'm not going to say the town board just going to step back and say no. And Ashley understands this. We've told her this at many meetings, that the town board is going to watch very carefully how this goes and proceed, maybe even year to year, bring her in and ask for, address concerns if we get them. The other thing that I would like to mention, and this probably wouldn't even have to be happening, this hearing, is under our comprehensive plan, which I happen to have right here, there were errors. North Central, when they developed this, they even had lakes in our township that weren't even there. Fortunately, we went through as a town board and found some of those mistakes. Now, we didn't get them all. This property that we're talking about should have been what was classified under our comprehensive plan, rural residential, which would have allowed them, if I understand correctly, through Dustin, would have allowed them to proceed for conditional use and that it would have made the steps a lot easier. Let me put it that way. So my point is I do think this is an important development. I think it's a good development. It's something that the town of Adams has embraced, and I hope that the board does also, Planning and Zoning Board. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else out there that wants to speak for this? Anyone else that wants to speak for this? Is there anyone that has anything to say against having this?
Yes, this is Don Lobbs. My family and myself own property about 200 yards north of this subject property, 142 acres, as well as I have a primary address in Adams County at 2109 Town Road. As expressed at the various township meetings, we do not support the change to planned residential and especially to a campground for a number of key reasons. Number one, we believe it's not consistent with the nature of the area, why the majority of the property owners have spent significant money and pay significant taxes for enjoying their Adams County property in that area. Primarily, the vast majority of the property in that area has been purchased for woodlands management and hunting. We're not aware of anybody within the immediate area, a tax-paying person within the immediate area that's in favor of this. We're also very concerned about the wetlands impact. It does adjoin some significant wetlands, and with the quantity of people that's being spoke about in that small area of 25 acres is kind of disturbing. We also, from that very specific property over the last several years, have had several noise complaints that we filed complaints with police departments and other authorities about noise, trespassing, and dogs. And we're very concerned with the increased level of activity there. We'll just see more of that in the future, not respecting why we all purchase property in that area. However, should this go forward, we ask for some simple restrictions in respect for the other property owners and the taxes they pay and the much larger parcels they own within Adams County.
This has nothing to do, that doesn't have anything to do with rezoning. That'll be conditional use. That's coming next.
Okay, should I hold comments for that?
Yes, hold that, please.
So my last comment is on the rezoning. It does trouble me as a major taxpayer in the county that the smallest parcel in the entire area could change the entire DNA of the area, where primarily the DNA right now is woodlands management and hunting, and the very smallest property within a mile could change the entire character of the area. It's very disturbing that the county is allowing that to happen.
Can I please respond to
Thank you.
one
Not right now. You can't, Ashley.
Okay.
You get a chance after they all. So just keep it on written down.
Oh, thank you.
Anybody else against this? Anyone else speaking against this?
This is James Kalinsky. This is James Kalinsky.
Yes. Address, please.
I'm a landowner at 2383 7th Avenue. I'm the adjacent landowner to
Is
this
that your
park.
primary address? We would like your primary address.
My primary address is 3395 Mosswood Court, Plover, Wisconsin, 54467.
Go ahead. State your concerns, please.
All right. This whole plan started last September, and what it really is boiling down to are our concerns. And one of the primary concerns I have is the location. You heard Don Lobbs talk about that location problem. It's a very remote area compared to all of the reference campgrounds that Ashley talked about for glamping. Almost everyone that she mentioned is either by a major highway. Highway 13 is one of them, up by Big Flats. County Trunk Z is another one. Highway 73 is another one. Everyone is in a area that is good access to highways or a major road system. This one is located in a very remote area, the very farthest corner of the township. why you would change the zoning in order to allow this kind of change. It wasn't allowed in the original comprehensive plan for some good reasons. And the reasons are everything that it destroys is the rural atmosphere, the hunting atmosphere, and the surrounding property. We've had this property for 42 years. I feel quite proud about what we've done with it. We've enhanced the woodlands. We've enhanced the habitat for wildlife. People are driving on rural roads enhanced and looking at the beautiful flights of cranes and geese and ducks, and you have deer running galore. I think this location of a campground is very invasive to the area. If you live next to it, my property is adjacent on 3 sides. On one side is my driveway. My driveway is adjacent to it. It's been there for years. My cabin and porch is only 30 to 50 feet away. And you can't tell me that 30 people, 20 people in campsites, porta potties, door slamming, noise from generators, etc., won't be a problem. It's going to be a problem to the Serenity and what we bought it for in the first place. As far as people not feeling that it affects hunting, well, you come and try to shoot a turkey or a deer 100 yards or so from the property line when you have all this noise and activity. It isn't
All
going
right,
to
we're
work.
we're just talking about the rezoning. We're not talking about the conditional uses.
All right. And the other area about rezoning is the area regarding the pollution discharge and the effect on the wetlands area.
That still has nothing to do about rezoning. That would be conditional use. I'm sorry.
All right.
You'll get a chance to speak when we do conditional uses.
So that last one I have is the rezoning, and for the campground has got to be more specific. You're stating that it's 25 acres. There's wetland borders within that 25 acres. I feel that it should be properly surveyed so that we know exactly where the highland is and where the campground zones are. Otherwise, this is going to be violated, and no one is going to have any grounds to go and change or correct the situation. So that survey of these areas, I think, has to be done.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that wants to speak against this? Dusty, we won't address the the highlands at this time. This is just for rezone, correct?
Correct. The rezone request is to go from the A115 to planned residential. The one thing to keep in mind is every zoning district has permitted uses and then other uses that require conditional use, as you guys are all aware. In planned residential, the only permitted use, so let's say you guys approve it, the only permitted use is a single family dwelling. There are no other, it's actually more restrictive than R1 zoning or any other district. Pretty much anything you want to do beyond the house or the accessory stuff with the house does require the conditional use. So a rezone would not open it up to things that aren't already happening on the property. I guess would be the easiest way to say that. And I did find 2 more letters. They are in favor. The first one is, my name is Ziggy Obniski at 3831 9th Ave, Wisconsin Dells. I am in support of the zoning change for Ashley Smeshko's zoning request for 2387 7th Ave in Grand Marsh. As a resident and business owner in Adams County, I feel we should welcome any respectable small business into our community, especially if someone is looking to do this on their own land. I think it's a good idea and would benefit the county. The other one was an email. My name is Jeffrey Branch. I am the director of sales for Blue Green Vacations at Christmas Mountain. Oh boy, some of it was cut off.
Yeah.
These are actually more for the conditional use anyway. Okay, never mind.
Barb, could I ask one question?
Yeah.
This is more to Bill Euclid for Town of Adams. Bill, when we're talking about rezoning to a campground and everybody is referring to hunting, did Town of Adams look into the safety aspects?
Yes. Matter of fact, I brought it up because I am a hunter and I said, so in other words, anybody that owns wooded land can say to their neighbor, you can't build a house there. You can't do anything there because you're interfering with my hunting. And I said, if I did that, my neighbor would never been able to build his house across the street. The neighbor next door would not have been able to build. So we said, it does not stop you from hunting on your land. And that was the whole logic that we used. So I don't know if that answers your question or not, but we did look at that, yes. And we questioned it.
Thank you, Bill.
Okay.
Any other questions from the committee?
No.
Okay, Ashley, do you have something you want to add to anything?
If I could, please, just briefly, as far as the letters go, I do have 12 additional letters in favor of what we're doing that I submitted to the town. I didn't know that I should submit it to the county. So there, just so you know, there were 12 additional letters plus businesses in town. Noise was brought up. I made a note of that. I just want everyone here to know that, like, my neighbors shoot.
We'll do that we'll handle noise
Yeah,
under conditional
okay.
use.
Okay, the last one was that someone brought up something about the previous owners, and I think that that's even just egregious to even bring up. I've owned the property for 3 months or since December. No police have been called on me, my family, or anything like that. And to even bring it up, I think is absolutely just ridiculous. So that's all I wanted to say about that.
Okay, thank you. We'll talk to you again when we do the conditional part.
Okay, thank you.
All right, it's in the committee's hands.
I'll make a motion for the rezone.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second to rezone. Roll call vote, Hannah?
Borud,
Yes.
Gilner,
Yes.
Shape,
Yes.
Morgan,
Yes.
Quick,
Yes.
Beeson, not Griner.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, the rezone has passed. It will be at the county board meeting, April 20th at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. We're starting early that day. If you might want to, if somebody from the county board, the other members will have something to ask, you might want to be tuned in for that, please. All right. Thank you. Now we'll go on to the conditional use. Dusty?
The second application is to reopen a tabled application of a conditional use request under 405-37C1B of the Adams County Comprehensive Zoning Ordinance to allow a campground on property located in the southeast quarter, section 25, T17 North, range 6 East, Town of Adams, address 2387 7th Ave. As part of the agenda on the website, there was 2 business plans and a number of correspondence, and there was a copy of the town amendment. That's really more for the rezone. I did receive, as I said before, the 2 letters, about a small business, and then from the director of sales Jeff Branch. I have known Ashley for over 7 years, and she worked directly below me for the past 4 years. Some of the email got cut off. She comes in daily with positive attitude. He couldn't think of somebody better to run it like Airbnb or something like that. And it's an asset to have her in the community. I'm fully confident in her abilities. Then there are the other letters that I did read before from Mr. Kolinsky. Let's not read that again, but I think everything still stands. And the town did approve the request previously.
Did the town put any conditions on it?
No.
Okay.
And Bill can speak to that probably a little better. They didn't put anything on the form.
We didn't put anything on the form, but at our meeting, as part of the record, we did ask a number of questions and indicate things that we felt needed to be addressed. And I don't know if this is the proper time to go into some of those or later in the meeting or when, so.
Probably during public comment.
Yeah, we'll do it during the public comment. We'll first see what the supervisors have to say.
So the answer is yes, we did discuss them.
All right, thank you. Okay, Ashley, this is your time for conditional uses that you're going to see. What are, list the concern, if there was a concern and how you're addressing it.
Yeah, like I said, we've been working on this for so many months and I've gone down one concern by one concern. I know one of the biggest one was lot lines, to make sure that those don't get crossed. I've moved all of the sites. They're further than 100 feet away from the lot lines. I've got them condensed into a small area. I also have trail cams set up, as well as a disclosure that people have to sign before they check in. They then walk the property with me, or will walk the property with me to see exactly where the lot lines are. They'll be marked off. If somebody does cross that lot line, that's immediate removal. Like there are 3 things that can get you, pack up your bags and leave. And that's number 1, because that was the biggest concern from the beginning. As far as noise goes, if we could just speak openly and candidly, I've asked Jim to work with me from the beginning because I don't want to get to the point where people are calling the police on each other or they're upset. If he's concerned about noise, I know that they shoot off semi-automatic weapons, their guns, which I'm fine with. I would like it if maybe they didn't do it early in the morning and then maybe my people could be quieter. However they want to work that out. If they'd like some quiet time hours, I'm all about that. I don't think you're gonna have to worry about that too much with the campers we're gonna have anyway. They're really kind of paying really good money to come out and hear nothing but the birds and things like that. But like I said, we could do quiet hours. I'm not sure what kind of conditions they would want to put on it, but like I said, I would be more than willing to work with them on, any single one that they were looking for.
Okay, committee members, are there any conditions that you are concerned about that you would like put on this? Jody?
I just have a question on some of the descriptions of sites. You have a fork of the ATV trail. Are you anticipating ATV use on your land? Because I know you're saying that you want to be quiet and get back to nature.
I don't foresee it being something that I don't know that we would say, well, actually, I don't think it's even in my insurance. So I would say no. I haven't asked that to my insurance agent. So at this point, I'd say no. We have an ATV though, that we use as a work vehicle.
Okay, any other questions from the committee? Any other conditions you would like? All right, now we'll go out to the community. Are there any concerns by community members?
Yes, this is Don Lobbs again from 2109 Town Road and 200 yards north of the property. Conditions that we feel are fair to the Schmeckels as well as the adjoining property owners are first and foremost is the camping season. To respect why we bought that property and pay the taxes on those property, we're asking that this campground only be open like any traditional Wisconsin campground from Memorial Day to Labor Day.
Campgrounds are open from beginning of May till October 31st is the.
So our request is Labor Day. And here's why. We bought this property a lot of money, all of us, to enjoy recreational activities and hunting. That primarily starts in the middle of September and is going on right now up until Labor Day. Please respect why we bought the property, and we'll respect why you bought the property. We feel that's very fair for all Adams County taxpayers. Why should one person be able to take advantage of something while we're trying to respect what they want to achieve? I mean, this is nothing different than any other Wisconsin campground.
Okay, your 3 minutes is up.
Really?
Okay, yep. Anybody else?
Yes.
Completely disappointed.
We need,
if I
we
can
need,
make another
we
point.
need the name because we have no clue who you are, who's talking.
Yes, Wobbs. One other point. I would
No,
only.
your 3 minutes is
owner.
up. We need to have somebody else.
You only want
Yeah.
to see this for this owner. They owned the last business for 3 months and sold it. What's to stop them from selling it to KOA? And all once we have a major campground operations right next to us. I'm done with my 3 minutes, but that's the second request is only for this owner. They sold it in 3 months.
That's
Who's
not
to say
true.
they're not going to sell it?
Your time is up, Mr. Lobbs. I'm sorry.
Yes. William Euclid.
Yes, Bill?
I just wanted to indicate in the record what the town board did question. We did question the noise. We talked about whether or not there was going to be any amplified music or any of that sort. We indicated that was not something we desired. We talked about the noise if they were going to be using generators. So we addressed that. We talked about the boundary marking and fencing, and the owners indicated that if necessary, they would even put fencing up around the perimeter. We talked about fire pits. We had a concern in regards to fire, and they indicated they would definitely have fire pits. We did talk about the bathrooms. I will admit that the operation that failure and the way they're set up, we did not know about. That's news to me tonight. So that's another issue that would probably have to be addressed. But I do want to be aware that the town did ask a number of questions in regards to the safety and concerns of the neighbors around them. So just wanted to indicate those things. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Anybody else that would like to speak? Committee, are there anything?
Barb, I have one question.
All right.
Ashley had made mention of hunting, to have a hunting group. Where are you on that, Ashley?
So where I kind of stand is, I would like to transition the campground. Labor Day is a little earlier than I thought, but around that time anyway, to where it's not camping, we're more targeting hunters. So my plan would be at the same time my neighbors are hunting, I would be having somebody on my land hunting at the exact same time. So I don't see that being a huge conflict.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Actually, Barb, what are Ashley and her husband going to be doing about the sewage?
Dusty's addressing that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions? It's in the committee's hands.
If there are conditions that the committee or committee members would like to put on, remember to, or make a motion and vote on each group of conditions, or, you know, if each individual of you have conditions you'd like to put on, make that as a motion, and it would either get voted up or down and then added on to the end.
That was under the previous department head. I guess we haven't had that.
I can make some recommendations, but a lot of what they're saying are the same things that are on what I've seen in the past. I don't have a nice list for you, but I would suggest the 100-foot setback to all property lines. Set up some date for operation of the campground. Quiet hours could certainly be a request. Suitable septic or suitable sanitary provisions. I'd also limit the number of campers and the number of people that would be allowed out there.
Oh, this is ideas, right?
They're gonna
I'm
copy them.
writing quickly.
Excuse me, can I speak for just a moment? Bert Davis from Dell's Camping Resort, 1130 Freedom Court. The concerns that are being brought forth can be addressed in DHS 178, which is the state campground code. So I would recommend that be used to not to not only make the state happy, but it would bring them in compliance with the health department situations.
You could also put in that they have to be compliant with the state DHS requirements for campgrounds. Then I would also say, yes. If you put it as part of the conditional use, and for whatever reason they don't, then we would have the authority to. If we don't put it in there, though, the DHS would be the only one that could actually handle the complaint. By putting it in there, they're in violation of a conditional use, and then we would have the authority to do it also. And now I forgot what the other one I was going to say was.
You ended with limited number of campers.
That's the big one. Oh, it does expire upon sale.
Yes. Mark, if I
And
may.
I think that's Bill. Go ahead, Bill.
I would agree. I think we should make sure that, and I think that protects some of the owners, adjacent owners' concerns, is that this conditional use expires if the property is sold. And I do also think that I'm not speaking for the town board myself, but I can understand some of the concerns. And I think if we would tie the dates of operation in with the state parks, that the state park, and Ashley, I don't know how you feel about that, but if we use the dates that the state parks opened and closed as operational dates, that might be something. At least then we have a fixed operational date that we can look to instead of something that's arbitrary. So, and I do think we also need to put in there the stipulations that you're saying, Dustin, about maximum number of campers and campsites and hours of operation and quiet hours. Also, the fact that the noise stipulations, because we asked about, are you planning to have a concert or something like that? And Ashley said no. So we were concerned about that also. So I hope that helps. Thank you.
Would you be comfortable with limiting it? Like, I know Pineland's opening May 1st. Pineland Campground is, May 1st to, I think they close, I don't know, I can't remember. They're open in October yet. I think they close at the end of, so they're closed during deer hunting season.
Wouldn't that affect the hunting opportunity?
May I speak to that? Bert Davis again.
Oh, this is the committee discussing things right now.
I lost my sound. So.
Okay.
You did too?
Go ahead.
Sorry, Bruce.
Whatever precedent we set, we're going to be setting it for, we've got other ones coming up next month. So I think we need to be aware of that.
Very consistent.
Yeah, I think so. And I'm wondering if Ashley could live with, and I'm still looking, not comparing it to the state parks or the county parks, because especially the county park doesn't have the hunting situation around that seems to be a big concern, and it's going to be a big concern next month. I'm thinking maybe toward October 15th or October 1st, something like that. Is my thought to placate. Yes, they're going to lose a little bit of their hunting time with the archery, but that's also a compromise.
But
I don't know. Like I said, I lost my sound. So
Well, I understand having a compromise, because then she still could have archery hunting. And I think that
would we still be able to accommodate like hunters in the hunting season though?
that would be,
I mean, ask Ashley possibly if they can live with that or what they can live with, and the same, I believe you got whatever, someone made the mention that it was a kind of a state, maybe Mr. Lab said the state was Memorial Day to Labor Day. Well, I'm not sure if that's true.
You might not have heard it. Miss Ashley asked about. Oh, somebody's not muted. Ashley asked about during the gun season having campers there. Ashley, how many campers were you? I mean,
So
You
not
have
real,
25 acres.
not real campers, like that wouldn't be like the camping season. I would have an opportunity where 4 hunters could come out. So you're not talking 40 people, 10 people, you're talking 4 people coming out during the hunting season and using the accommodations that we have come up with. Because I'm open to all of this, but like, winter camping is a really big thing that is, I don't know if it'd be worth my time to even keep bathrooms open. Maybe it could be further down the road. But if it could be that like during those big hunting weekends or during that time, that the only way somebody could book it is on that reduced number, with the intention to come up and hunt, I think that would work for us.
Randy, what you might have missed right as you were sitting down, she said during the gun season, she would like the facilities available for up to 4 hunters. So, for the conditions, you could put it on, pick your dates, like you said, or May 1st, October 15th. During the gun season, you can have, or after that, you can have up to 4 people there until the end of the year, or
Can you
something
give
to
me
that
till
effect.
Halloween, or is that too late?
She wants to know if we can make it Halloween. That's what she said.
Yeah, I heard that.
Oh.
We're just throwing out dates right now.
I can tell you that I have camped the last week in October at Governor Dodge State Park. So I can tell you that it does go, I don't know if it goes right to the 31st, but it does go later in October. So
I'd like to make a comment too. 4 hunters on 15 acres. Isn't that a safety issue, folks?
25 acres.
4 hunters on 25 acres scares the heck out of me.
Okay,
But
this is the committee right now, please. Over here. Larry.
I don't believe 4 hunters on 25 acres is an issue at all. You got plenty of room, then you got evidently some woods out there that I would guess if the neighbors are right on the lot lines, it won't be an issue if they stay within the 25 acres, 4 people.
But it doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to be hunting on that property either. It just means they're going to be staying there.
Yes, they could be hunting on state property or federal.
Or a friend.
Or, yeah, all right. Any other questions?
I
Committee.
don't understand why you'd limit I don't understand why you'd limit it to a certain amount of people during hunting season if none of the other properties are limited. This is a business that I think we're trying to determine is good for the area and good for the county. Why would it only be good, through the summer? That through deer season is an awful busy time in this county. That's when people pay the bills.
And people paying the bills are your adjoining taxpayers as well.
I agree, because they've got other places to hunt. There are so many public areas to hunt, so they could stay there and hunt someplace else instead of staying at the motel. Go ahead, Randy.
My question would be, rather than limit the campground to such and such a date to be totally open or closed, would be limited to 4 after a certain date for the rest of the year. So she could possibly take advantage of someone wanting to ice fish, snowmobile, whether it would happen or not. But otherwise, she's going to be back here saying, hey, I got people asking me to come up and do this in the winter. And if she'd be willing to go with like 4 and try it, she can always come back here in another year after she sees how that goes. But if she doesn't get a chance to try it, at least she won't know.
That works for me.
So you're saying that 4 only from like November 1st to whatever.
Yeah, May 1st.
Go ahead, Randy.
I'm trying to compromise and maybe backing up to October 15th. That would be my personal suggestion, just because of the hunting, and see how it goes.
That would be
And you could still have 4 from October 15th to the November 1st with no problem.
That
So
would
then
be
she-
initiated by the neighbors, the 15th.
Whoever keeps speaking, this is for the committee.
The committee's coming up with some conditions. We don't need anybody else right now. Everybody else has had a chance. So,
Barb,
Yes,
one
go ahead.
question in regards to the hunting. In January, there's also bow, isn't there? An extended bow season?
yeah, there's bow season, but people are snowmobiling during that time too. And that's public.
Cross-country skiing, cross-country skiing.
Right.
So, I mean, there's a lot of opportunity there.
Yeah, I have people that stop at my place. I don't know if stop at my place and ask if they can go through my woods and cross-country ski. Doesn't hurt anything.
I think the condition Randy was getting at, I'll decipher this to make sure. From May 1st to October 15th would be normal operations, which is whatever the maximum you guys put on the campground total, 7 sites or whatever it is. From October 15th until April 30th, well, October 16th to April 30th, she would be limited to 4 campers or 4 people.
Guests.
4 guests. Thank you. I think that's kind of satisfying. I mean, so it allows some winter opportunity, but it's not, that's what I'm hearing from the committee.
And then if she wants, I don't know. Then if she wants to, she can come back to the committee and talk to us again if she wants something.
And I guess that's true for any part of this. If everything's going great 2 years from now, if she wants to expand it, the only way she can do, if she wants to go to 9 campers, this entire process again, other than the rezone, she would have to go through the conditional use. The town would get a first look at it, and then it would come here. Same thing, public hearing and everything. So whatever you guys put as a limit on campers and or guests today, that's her limit unless she reapplies.
So I guess what I would recommend is we have hunters on our land, and I would assume that 5 acre per hunter would be probably a good generic, I don't know, area. So I would say 5 hunters as a capacity. And then I would say from October 15th through to May, what are we saying? May 1st, and then the normal capacity, because that'll incorporate all the, pardon? April 30th.
Yeah.
So I guess I would do the full year, but at a diminished capacity
Mm-hmm.
during that other time.
Okay.
Would be my suggestion.
Well, we need these in form of motions if we want to go. Go ahead, Bruce.
So just so I'm clear, are we setting precedents that the next campground that comes along will restrict them through certain months of the year?
Zoning does not set, no decision you make sets a precedence. Every property is unique and every situation is unique. In this situation, because of the concerns of the neighbors, that's an appropriate condition to put on there. The next one, maybe it's not, maybe it is.
Okay.
I'd like to propose another condition. When it comes to noise and respecting everybody's noise levels, we had made mention of a no ATV use that was proposed on here, but they have one. So I guess I would put on there no ATV use by anyone other than the Schmeickel family. So that none of the campers, would that work for you, Ashley?
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that.
Bill, is that town road open for ATV, UTV use?
Yes, all of our roads are open.
So that means we cannot, if they don't stay on the property, they can take their ATV and be off of that property and ride the roads.
Yes.
Yes. So I think that would be something I don't think we can really, we could just say no trails on their property because they still could go on the roads and go into Grand Marsh or into Adams.
So they could trailer their stuff to the campgrounds, but then they would have to leave to use the ATV.
Right.
I think what she's getting at is if it's parked on the campground, I got to drive out to the road. That's actually a violation of what you recommended.
True.
if they take it there, they just can't ride any trails on the campground.
On the property, sure.
They have to ride it off of the property and go on the roads.
Makes sense. What about sewerage?
That will be dealt with.
Dusty deals with that.
Okay.
I'll work with actually the health department on that and make sure.
No.
No, they got to meet the requirements. So.
Should I go through all my notes that I've written? She's already said that she's going to do lot lines. The sites will be condensed and be 100 feet setback. And if they violate, she has already said that it's going to be immediate removal from property. And she said she'd work quiet times with neighbors, no amplified noise and generators. Quiet time after. Anybody have a suggestion? Quiet time? 10 o'clock?
10:30? 10 o'clock?
10? We discussed the campground dates. Limited number of campers. Right now, what was the suggestion you had, Ashley? 20?
My
30.
maximum capacity is 38 is my maximum.
Is that people?
And that. Right. No, I just wanted to make one clarification. I heard somebody say something. That's 38 people. How many units?
Oh, for this year, I think I'm only gonna be able to get like 6 or 7 of them up this year. Next year, I'd like it to be 10 separate.
So we could say no more than 10. Okay.
So a maximum of 38
Okay.
customers or guests and a maximum of 10 camping units.
Okay.
And then to be compliant with DHS rules. And then the conditional use expires with sale of the property. And the hours we've come up with, it seems like this is the general thing, May 1st to October 15th, normal operations. Somebody said 5 between October 16th and April 30th. Okay, those are the conditions I've got written down. We have to have a motion to put these conditions in use and then a motion to give it to her. So we have to have 2 motions now.
I move to approve the conditional use permit.
For Ashley.
Request for Ashley.
Okay, we need a second on the conditions.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second on the conditions. We need a roll call vote. Hannah?
Shapey,
Yes.
Morgan,
Yes.
Quick,
Yes.
Easton,
Yes.
Borud, Knackriner,
Yes.
Yes.
Gilner,
Okay, now we need a motion to grant the conditions to Ashley for her business. For the entire business. Okay?
I'll make that motion.
Got quick second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to permit Ashley to have her business with these conditions. We need roll call vote, Hannah.
Easton,
Yes.
Knackriner,
Yes.
Quick,
Yes.
Gilner,
Yes.
Morgan,
Yes.
Shapey,
Yes.
Borud,
Yes.
All right. The conditions do not go before the county board. They stop here. These are the conditions for you to run now. Okay, Ashley? If you have any questions to see Dusty.
All right, so am I all set here? All finished?
I'll put it in his arms.
No, you have to be before the county board, then you're
Oh, now I
finished.
gotta say, okay.
The other has to go before the county board. The conditions doesn't.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, Dusty, we'll go on to the, thank you, Ashley, very much.
Thank you. So should I sign out now?
If you choose to, or unless you want to listen to us, we still have much more to go through.
Thank you guys so much. You guys have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye.
All right, Dusty, the next one, diversified seed.
The next application is for diversified seed land holdings. It's a rezoning request of a parcel, 9.4 acres from R1 LL residential large lot to A3 secondary ag on property located in the northeast quarter of southeast quarter of southeast quarter, lot 1 of CSM 6376, section 30, township 15 north, range 7 east, town of Jackson, Adams County. The address is 3481 6th Court. I do have actually a fair amount of correspondence, but I do want to clarify one thing first. When we received the application for this, we also received an application for a conditional use to actually, the first request is to rezone the property, as I stated. The second request is a conditional use permit application to have migrant housing. We had requested from the applicant a number of items before we considered that application complete. We did not receive them in time to include those in the public hearing notice. So that request for the conditional use portion is not on this agenda. The request before the board right now is strictly to rezone it from a residential large lot to A3, which does not entitle them as it stands to just do the migrant housing. That will be on for next month. And everybody will be re-notified of that request. The correspondence that I received all have to do with the conditional use portion of that. I'm not seeing anything to, this area has always been a peaceful community and is no place for this type of operation. So again, it's a lot of stuff that are specific to the migrant housing. The town did approve both. So the town did approve the rezone request. They said it does not conflict with their town comprehensive plan. There was a question that was brought up to me, and this is also a petition from a number of surrounding property owners, which I believe was on the list or on the agenda. One of the first questions was, how was the building permit to build obtained? And I did want to address this. At the time, the property, there was actually two properties next to each other. One was zoned A3, the other was zoned R1. The owners combined the lot into one lot, so there's actually half R1 and half A3. There was an existing farming operation on there. I felt it was appropriate to issue a permit for another ag building, even though that building is in the R1 portion. It was an existing land use and it was on the same property. At this time, that's all it is a washing station for vegetables, potatoes, whatever. And it happens to be the same building they are asking to convert into migrant housing. But the current building is there because it was on an existing ag use property, even though it was zoned differently. And the reason it was zoned differently was because it was too small to be zoned anything else. So they zoned it R1. Now that it's combined, it does actually meet the size requirements for an A3 zoning district. And there is an ag use on the property, and there has been for a number of years.
I took a tour of it last summer, and it was very nicely and clean. The only thing I've never been able to find is an address number if there's ever an emergency for all the people that work there.
There is one. It's right outside the office part.
Okay, but it's not out by the road if the fire department or ambulance has to go there.
One of the other questions was well and septic up to par for the wash plant. Yes, there is. They have a brand new septic system that went in with that. We don't regulate wells. I would assume they have a permit for that. That's up to the DNR. Noise restrictions, there are none. It's a farming operation, same as any other farming operation. So that's, the rest is pretty much the migrant housing. There was some questions about why it wasn't put in the industrial park. You guys have seen all that. So yeah, the only request before the board right now is it appropriate to go from R1 to A3?
Okay. Is someone here that owns the property that wants to speak? Is it Fred Kaltenberg? Right.
Ray, are you on the phone or on the call? Is there anybody from the applicant here, or yeah, from Diversified Seed?
There's a Jennifer Kassinger that's raising her hand, but I think she's muted.
Can everybody hear us?
Am I allowed to talk?
Jennifer, hold on a second. You are a neighbor, correct?
Yes.
Just the owner right now.
Yeah, you'll have your chance.
Can anybody hear us here? Hello?
Yes.
So I have Fred Kaltenberg here, and I am Ray Cruz, and we are in attendance here. Fred is the owner and does have a few words he'd like to say.
So in farming, I came up here farming for 41 years. Bought the property a number of years ago. Rented it for a long time prior to that. It was part of Jim Elliott's farming operation years ago. And our predominant business is seed corn, but this facility is for cucumbers. We do both organic and conventional seed corn, and cucumbers happens to be a rotation crop for us. And then we needed a facility to prepare the crop to ship it off to the markets like any other crop, vegetables or commodity crops, corn, soybeans. It needs to go somewhere, and to prep cucumbers, you have to have them clean sized and graded. So we purchased that other portion of the land and built this facility for doing this. And I guess that's pretty much the story of, how this came to be. It helps with the rotation of crops for disease, insect, and weed pressures. And especially on the organic side, where pesticides of any sort are not an option. So without going into a long dissertation about it, that's what we do. And because it's for human consumption and immediate shipping so that it doesn't spoil. And so we keep the place, like Barbara said, very, very clean, sanitary, and then ship the cucumbers off to the people that process them or take care of them. So
Okay, anybody from the committee that has any questions for Fred?
I have a question.
Go ahead, Jody.
Ray, are you saying that the produce is grown here locally in Adams County?
It is, yes, ma'am. We've got 300 acres or so of organic farmland that we harvest and bring to this facility. Yep.
This is the owner.
300 acres along the, I guess, immediate 5-mile, 10-mile radius of the facility.
They also have land from other growers in the area, in the Grand Marsh area, that they get their vegetables from. Any other questions?
I do have one piece of correspondence that does more directly relate to the rezone request. I, Kenny Hutchinson, being a property owner adjacent to the property, have several concerns with the rezoning and limited use permit being issued. Some of the concerns come from last year while the plant was being operated evidently illegally. due to it not being zoned properly, which I did explain. And there were even more concerns added by the plant supervisor at the township meeting. Another concern I have is I have run into problems with the company already. I've had surveyor stakes removed and a driveway put in over it. I had it resurveyed and put up a fence along the property line. That was about 1 year ago. I've since had to repair damage to the fence 3 times. I've had several instances where trash is in my yard that is being blown from the crew working on irrigation equipment, and I still have trash to pick up on my field when they were built the building. When bringing this up at the township meeting, the plant supervisor told me that these problems were from another company, and then later said that several companies were all in together. Enough about the past, now with the current concerns on this point. I was informed that they were looking to change the zoning from residential to ag and running it 4 months a year, June till September, from 2 in the afternoon to 2 the next morning. I first want to say I do not think this is fair for myself and all the neighbors around me. We live in the country for peace and quiet, and running this plant causes a lot of noise. I have to be up for work at 3:45 a.m. It will be hard to sleep when I have diesel engines on refrigerator trailers, semis, and machinery that is running all hours of the day and night. Then the crews coming in at daybreak for equipment to repair equipment, fill sprayers, and hooking up the whole head to the fields. This is loud with my windows closed and my fan on. I usually open my windows at night to cool down the house and let fresh air in, and to listen to the whippoorwills when I go to sleep. This is not possible with the noise. Years ago, I was working in my garage at 10:30 one night, and I had the Adams County Sheriff knock on the door and told me 10 p.m. was quiet time. I had to shut off my air compressor. I did not see how it can be different set of standards for this plant. I have gone to several of my neighbors, and they have told me they do not like the plant possibilities. I do not understand why they're thinking about rezoning the area when the industrial park is only 1.5 miles away. That would have been a more ideal place to run a business like this. The rest does talk about more of the migrant part.
Barb, I see that Sheriff York is online. Is there any way that he could comment on quiet time and how this would be done with the A3 if the rezone went through?
Well, I hate to tell you, I wish there was quiet time for the manure trucks that go past my house at 5 in the morning until 10 at night. So I don't think so. With ag, it's very hard to limit quiet time.
Sheriff York, can you respond to that?
Sure. Hold on 1 sec here, though. All right, apologies there. I think it'd be very difficult, and I don't know the case that whoever the author was of that letter or that case without referring to it, but we don't have any county ordinances or laws that I think that would be applicable to farm equipment causing noise in this manner.
Thank you.
Sheriff York, you would have it though for R1, correct?
We do have a nuisance ordinance that could come into effect depending upon what it was, yes. And it would have to be multiple occurrences over a certain period of time under the county nuisance ordinance.
I think it's against the law to put something like that on ag.
I do too. Thank you.
But to address what you just said, though, I mean, they don't look at the zoning district. So even if it's zoned R1 or A, the sheriff's department's not going to look at that as far as the noise ordinance portion.
The whole reason for this rezone, though, as I understand it, is because they combined it and we want it to be under one umbrella.
Yeah, before there's 2 different zones otherwise.
Okay.
Which 2 different zones isn't a problem. That is one reason is to let's make it all the same. It now meets all the minimum requirements. The other reason, though, is to allow the possibility to apply for a conditional use for migrant housing. Under R1, they cannot do that. I mean, they can't even apply for it.
Under R1, this building should not have been in existence, though, either, right? Because it was in R1.
I made the decision that it is a permitted building.
That is permitted. Okay.
Because the ag use was already there.
Okay.
So I didn't look at it as an expansion. I mean, they continued an ag use that had been established prior to zoning. Migrant housing is a completely, it's spelled out in the ordinance. It's only allowed certain places under a conditional use.
And
So I
that's
don't
not
treat-
even underneath this rezone though.
Correct. All it does is it does allow them to now come next month and apply for it. And then we're gonna have another public hearing and discuss the specifics of, similar to the last application where they had to rezone before they could even apply for the conditional use. We didn't do them all at once here because we didn't have all the information.
So right now, we're just working on getting the property to be rezoned all ag. Okay?
Yep, understood.
No conditions,
Thank you.
no migrant camp or anything. All right. Are there any questions for the committee? I mean, from the committee for Fred. Any other questions? Mhm. All right, now we'll go in for citizens that are going to speak for this. You are limited to 3 minutes. I need your name and address. Anybody that wants to speak for this? It's just the rezone.
I'd have a quick question.
All right, name, address.
Jennifer Castigar, Kastigar, 3291 Fifth Lane. Is it going to be 24 hours during the summer? I know that
Ag?
they're going to be, yeah, is it going to be in 24-hour operation? during the summer?
There's no limit to ag hours.
Okay,
This is just rezoning.
Thank you.
And I can address her question a little bit more too. Ag use is currently permitted on that property, whether they get turned down today or not. Because the ag use was established prior to zoning. This is to change the map to make it more reflective of what is the actual use, and then to also allow it for down the road next month to apply for that even. But the ag use is permitted as it stands today, even if they turn the rezone down.
Okay.
Or is there anyone that wants to speak for this rezoning?
This is Todd Warren, 216 South Fern Lane, Oxford. I'm a member of the Jackson Township Zoning Committee. We debated this during our previous meeting. In our opinion, well, I shouldn't speak for the board. I should speak for myself, but in my opinion, this single piece of R1 that sits out in the middle of quite a few acres of ag, both ag 3 and ag 1 property that has no house on it, didn't make any sense. In our debate, we didn't really see any reason why this rezone shouldn't take place. That's no opinion about the conditional use.
Okay, thank you, Todd. Larry, do you have anything to say? You're on the town board there.
At our town board, after our planning and zoning okayed it, it came up and we talked about it, and we saw no reason not to grant the rezone from R1 to ag. Since that meeting, I have received a number of calls that probably should have been at the meeting. But no, the board was unanimous.
Thank you, Larry. Is there anyone else? Is there anybody that wants to speak against the rezone only?
I just have a question if I could ask about it.
Name and address.
My name is Katie Malo. I live at 574 County Road I in Oxford. I just want to make sure that I understand. So the rezoning would allow them to apply for the migrant housing, but keeping it as an R1 residential gives them no opportunity to do that. Is there any reason besides being able to apply for migrant housing that would make it necessary to change it to A3?
Necessary, no. Currently, the use that's there of the ag use is considered a legal non-conforming use. This would make the ag a legal use. Either way, it is permitted. It's a title basically. Beyond that, it does clean up the zoning maps and does make more sense. But and when I talk about applying, I don't mean like coming into the office applying to put in the migrant housing and you can do it tomorrow. It allows them to be able to come back to this board and apply for the conditional use. I don't know if I made myself clear on that, but.
No, I did understand that. Thank you.
Okay.
But I guess I just am wondering if that's where the problem is. And I know that this meeting is not for that at this point. But if that's where most of the concern lies, then why giving them the rezoning? Then, why would we move forward with the rezoning if that's where the concern lies, if that's the reason for the majority of the request? If it's only to clean up maps and things like that, is that reason enough to grant a rezone when the reason for the rezone is known? And, we know that that's what they're going to come back with.
And that would be up to the committee to decide. It would. We actually have another agenda item for the specific purpose of cleaning up maps. But I do understand. I mean, I definitely understand what you're saying. Well,
yeah, I mean, that's
my
major
necessary or not.
question.
Yep.
So I won't speak to the actual migrant housing because I understand that's not what's happening right now, but that's obviously where this is going should this be approved. So just something for everyone to consider.
Okay, are there any other people that want to speak against this?
Yes, Jeff Steele, 3470 County Road I, Wisconsin Dells. About the rezoning, this is located in Davis Corners, and I don't know if hopefully some of you know where Davis Corners was. Obviously, it used to be a small community, and there are a lot of small plots of land around here. It's not all ag, as it was once a small town, and I guess I don't see why a small residential lot would be an issue with zoning there. And like what Katie said, the mission to rezone is for migrant housing, which I know we are not discussing right now, but if that is known, then I guess we know what they're trying to do. I don't know.
Okay, is there anyone else that wants to speak against this?
I would like to speak. Are you
Name
ready?
and address.
Right now I'm here with my husband, Monica Doro Lease and Kurt Lease. We live at 501 Freedom Lane, Wisconsin Dells, Wisconsin. And first of all, I'd like to start out by saying I have nothing wrong with agriculture. I grew up on the other side of town on a dairy farm. And so I have no problem with agriculture, no problem with farm machinery, no problem with any of that for rezoning. And I understand, fine, the building went up because it was, it conforms with the building that's already on the parcel south of it. So I understand why they're would like to rezone so it conforms, but I don't agree with it going from, like, can't they choose any kind of other rezoning? Like, let's say, I don't know if A1 allows labor farms on it, but R1 zoning clearly does not permit to even apply for a conditional use permit. A3 does. I don't know if A1 does, but I know A3 permits them to go for a conditional use permit. And it's hard to turn down a conditional use permit these days. And you guys probably are already aware of that. I just thought I'd let you know that I've lived here for 20 some years, or I've purchased the property 20 years ago with my husband. And we found this property. Nothing against Adams County, but I thought I'd never live in Adams County. Grew up on the other side in Sauk County. And then I thought, okay, well, we found a nice piece of property. We built a nice house. We understand that there's tourists right down the road from us with the lake, one mile direction that way. And I understand the whole, I felt safe, which I feel safe in our community right now. But I realize that they're not talking about the migrant housing right now, but it is in the future stakes, and it's hard to turn down a conditional use permit. And if it becomes unsafe with migrant workers, and I know this, not about migrant workers, but I'm just saying that there's so many things to, if I had known about the meeting now I'm signed up for our Township of Jackson meetings, so I'm signed up to be contacted by email and everything. But had I known about it, I would have been there because I attend meetings for municipality that I work for. But I have no problem with that, but I always feel safe, and the mission statement, in the Adams County mission statement, it even states that to provide high quality services in economical, fair, professional, and courteous manner, enhancing and protecting the health, welfare, and safety of those who visit, live, and work in Adams County. And if this does become approved for this A3 zoning, allowing them to even, I understand the zoning to get to an agricultural, but not the maybe A1, maybe that doesn't allow the conditional use permit application, but A3 allows that application to be made. I don't think it should be allowed to be made. This is
We're not talking about the conditional use. We're just talking about that.
I understand that, but I also work for a municipality that we have planning and zoning too. And the thing of it is that once you get that available to apply for a conditional use permit, it's hard to turn down those conditional use permit applications that following month. It's hard to turn those down. And I like the statement that one gentleman made about, well, would you like it next to your house? Well, no, I wouldn't like it next to my house. I feel safe in my property right now. I don't feel safe in the future. I'm sorry, but you've got a lot of residential roads, residential houses right down the road. And what's hurting it?
Your time's up.
Okay, what's hurting? Okay, my husband should be able to speak then too. I don't know. He should be able to speak.
Yeah, he can speak, but remember, it's just, we're not talking about the migrant workers. I hate to tell you, but they were there last summer and I don't think you had any problems.
No, they were not.
Because I saw them.
They were not.
But they weren't on property.
They were not housed there. They were not housed there. They were not.
All right, let's go on.
Here's Kurt Lease.
Well,
Kurt Lease.
I guess, like you said, that there's a lot of other people, like you said, a few people didn't know, a lot of people did not know about the meeting. I got that. A few of the people that did know, well, their interest in it, they want it to go through. But I guess 90% of the people around it don't want it to go through.
And we trust the board members to do the best for their.
So I guess that's all I got to say.
Okay, is there anyone else that wants to speak against this?
I do. Dolores Roger, 430 County Road I. I just moved into my family home back in November. This property's been in our family since the 1860s. And I'm not really familiar with the issue because I just came back. But, and I remember growing up, there was a little Elliott's farm there, and I don't have a problem with that, but I just don't like this, changing and then what comes next. I don't know. I don't really know what comes next. I'm already having an issue with the traffic rerouting from 82. I have semis and trucks flying by here at 60 miles an hour on a 45-mile-an-hour road. And I'm just going to let you know that I'm not for this. So I just wanted to join in.
All right, thank you. Is there anyone else?
Can I ask one more question if possible?
Name?
Katie
See,
Malo.
I can't tell who it is.
Oh, sorry. Katie Malo, 574 County Road I. Just wondering, just because it's been mentioned with the industrial park being close by, why was that considered and why was it chosen to not move forward that direction? If they're trying, just wondering if there was a reason why. If someone can speak to that.
Thank you.
That was the reason why we didn't choose the industrial park? Is that what your question is, Ms. Casey?
That's what she wants to know.
Yeah.
We simply don't own it.
We don't own it. In how many other industrial parks? Are you talking about the actual cucumber park or housing? Because there isn't any farms that are in industrial parks.
Sure. I guess just moving forward with, I'm sure you didn't just come here planning, the plant and then not have additional future plans. So I guess, is this something that you see growing larger in this area? Are you planning on adding more on? I don't know. I guess I'm just not that familiar with it.
Again, this is for the rezoning.
Okay. And I'm sorry if I'm in.
Yeah.
And that's I would like to answer a little bit to that. That's a hard question to answer when you say, are you planning to grow or move on or do other things? I think there's an expression out there in the world, those that stop planning and trying to improve and expand usually are in the direction of going backwards and declining, reclining, and going away. So I'm planning on, and I have two sons in the operation, and I'm planning on them taking over the farming operation. And I hope they keep expanding and growing in the business. The likelihood of farms going back to a small 160 acres and a few cows, that's part of our history. That's not part of our future. So I would hope
understand
they
that.
would expand. Okay.
All right. Are there any other questions out there?
Yeah.
All right. It's
Jeff Steele, again, 3470 County Road I, about the rezoning. You know, as this is a small residential community surrounded by agriculture, I would like to keep that lot residential, and I have 35 signatures signed for the rezoning and the conditional use permit. They willingly signed both of them, knowing that it was about the rezoning as well. And all
Dusty,
those
do you
people
have
that
them?
signed.
Okay.
I can't hear it.
I do have it. It was included in on the agenda, and the title of it is deny conditional use permit and rezone for diversified seed land holdings. And I didn't count the names, but sounds accurate what he said.
35
Okay.
on there.
On the agenda, Dustin,
All
I'm
right.
sorry, I'm confused. It's not.
What was that?
Dustin, I'm sorry, I'm confused as to why it's not on the agenda. And did you just confirm that it is on the agenda or not?
When I talk about being on the agenda, the request is on the agenda, and at the end of the request is all the correspondence.
Okay.
So if you go on the county website and go to the agenda, it should all be on there. And the committee has that ahead of time.
And right now, we're still talking about the rezoning, correct?
Correct.
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. It's out in the committee's hands
Can I ask
for
one more question?
rezoning only. Did somebody else have a question?
I just wanted to make one statement. Just, all I'm asking for is
Name and address.
I'm sorry, Monica Leese again for Kurt Leese, but I'm just saying that I'm not against agricultural, just so you know. I'm not against that. I'm against it going from a residential zone to A3. If it went to like A1 that is still agricultural, I would not be against that, or something like that, that didn't allow a conditional use permit for hybrid housing.
All
Thank
of
you.
our ag districts do allow for a conditional use permit to be applied for migrant housing.
Thank you. That's all I was asking. Thank you. And I'm against it. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. It's in the committee's hands.
Dustin, Randy here, Randy Thiessen. My question is there anything, there's really no reason tying the conditional use to this as the one young lady said, that it's hard to turn down. We can turn it down just like we can anything else, correct? There's no precedence not to or to grant it.
Correct. When it comes time to look at the conditional use, which again has nothing to do with this application, but conditional uses can certainly be turned down. You could have turned down Ashley's if you felt that it was not compatible with the neighborhood. In this case, that may be what the determination is. Just because they can apply does, I guess if it's hard to turn it down, or if it's going to be an automatic, then there's no point in coming to the committee at all. So the committee and the town definitely have a huge say in it, and certainly can turn it down. There was a comment made about people not knowing about the town meeting. The official public hearing for this application is what we're having right now, and that's the one that you actually get notified about. So that's why we don't mail to all the neighboring property owners for town meetings. This is the time that you're guaranteed to have your voice heard.
Okay, committee, what are your wishes?
I'll make a motion, we accept the rezone.
I'll second it.
All right, Bruce made the motion. Jody seconded it. Roll call vote, Hannah?
Morgan.
Yes.
Quick,
Yes.
Thiessen,
Yes.
Nachreiner,
Yes.
Gilner,
No.
Borud,
For the rezone, I gotta go yes.
Shapey.
Yes.
All right, this will go before the county board meeting, and I lost my paper. April 20th at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Okay. Thank you. Next.
The next application is for Merlin and Sherry Lang. It's a rezoning request of a parcel, 0.86 acres from conservancy to recreational residential on property located in the southeast quarter, northeast quarter, lot 1 of CSM 1208, section 35, township 16 north, range 5 east, town of Easton. The address is 1502 South Evergreen Court. The applicant, if I'm not mistaken, would like to go, has a current mobile home there, or did, and wants to build a house, and it would be in the conservancy district, which is not a permitted use. Is the applicant on the, the only piece of correspondence I did receive is from the town of Easton. They do not object. They feel it complies with the town plan. Is the applicant online?
Yes, we are.
Yes.
Can you explain the request a little bit, or did I get it right?
You did it right, it's pretty close. Yeah, we want to remove all existing buildings that are there and build approximately a 1,200 square foot home. And we want to build in the area where the garage that on site is sitting at the moment. That takes us back away from the water edge of the creek that goes through there.
Okay, are there any questions from the committee? Committee questions? We will open it up to the public. Is there anyone that wants to speak for this? Is there anyone that wants to speak for this? Is there anyone that wants to speak against this? Is there anyone that wants to speak against this? It's in the committee's hands.
I'll move to approve.
We have a motion to approve and second. Roll call vote, please.
Thiessen,
Yes.
Borud,
Yes.
Gilner,
Yes.
Shapey,
Yes.
Nachreiner,
Yes.
Quick,
Yes.
Morgan.
Yes. Okay, this rezoning will come before the county board, April 20th at 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
The next application is for First Rate Resorts. I do make a request, they have not gone to the town yet. They will be doing that this month, and they will be on the agenda for next month. So if I could have a motion to table that item.
So move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to table. All in favor, say aye, or
Aye. Aye.
any nays? All right, next month we will have this one.
All right, the next application is for Thomas Peckoff. Conditional use request under 40534C5 of the Adams County Comprehensive Zoning Ordinance to allow one fourplex on each parcel and property located in the southwest quarter, lots 12 and 13 of Clearwater subdivision, section 22, township 15 north, range 7 east, town of Jackson. There is no property address. I did receive a little correspondence. I did receive a phone call from Kevin Birch. He is an adjacent owner, and he does not feel there's a need for them and doesn't really want one next to him. Another neighbor or nearby, Tom Groves, he is definitely opposed to this application. It's not the right location. It's a single family home subdivision. It'd make it too dense and too much traffic. Barb, can you mute? I'm getting bad. I did receive another letter. Somebody else isn't muted. I am writing in response to your letter of March 17th, which informed me that Thomas Peckoff has made a conditional use request related to parcels. As noted in the letter, the request is to allow one fourplex on each of these parcels. Also, as noted in the letter, my property is within 300 feet of these parcels. In fact, they're very close to the driveway that leads into the north side of my property. I object to the approval of this conditional use. I do not believe that the building of fourplexes on these parcels is in the best interest of the community. While I have no objection to single family home construction, fourplexes represent housing that is far too dense for this neighborhood. Setting aside the appearance of the units, which would be inconsistent and unsightly compared to neighboring housing, there would simply be too many people occupying too small a space. I also question the use of the properties. There are too many to be owner occupied. If there are to be rental units, it's possible that short-term rentals would be made available. While any rental of this many closely spaced units would be disruptive to the neighborhood, short-term rentals would be quite a chaotic scene. Potential weekly vacation rentals in small units adjacent to other homes. It would be very difficult for the neighboring properties to enjoy quiet use of their homes. Thanks for the opportunity to provide input. Please contact me if you need anything further. Kenneth Krieger. This is in regards to the Thomas Peckoff's request to have his lots of Clearwater rezoned. We object for the following reasons. This has always been a single family dwelling subdivision. Mr. Peckoff does not take care of his own property, let alone 2 apartment buildings. The traffic will increase along with noise. Young children ride their bikes and play on this road that his lots are on. Number 5, decrease in property value. Thank you for consideration, and is signed by 16 people. I do recognize some of the names as also being on the call right now, but they do appear to be neighbors. And another phone call. No, that was the same letter I read. And I believe the town of Jackson did not object. They do feel it conforms to the plan. That's all I have.
Are there any questions? First of all, the people, Thomas Peckoff, are you on? Or a representative?
Yes, we're here.
Okay, do you want to speak to any of that? And are the concerns or anything about it that you would like to add right now?
The only thing I'm trying to do is put a fourplex on 2 properties I own across the street from me. I've been living in this area for 28 years in the same property. We're gonna improve the property. We're gonna add basically a minimum of year leases. So this is not going to be vacation property. It's not going to be Section 8 housing. It's not going to be any of that. I live on it's also, this property is on a dead end road as well. So on the dead end road, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 homes.
Are there any questions from the committee to them? Thomas, and I think her name is Christine. Any committee questions? All right, is there anyone out there that wants to speak for this? Is there anyone that wants to speak for this? Is there anyone that wants to speak against this? Is there anyone that wants to speak against this? Committee, do you?
Jeff Steele, 3470 County Road I. I have a few friends in that area, and they they're very adamant about keeping it single family homes. It's a very quiet, quaint corners, you know, being a dead end, and any kind of duplex would be much, you know, way too much traffic and disruptive. That's a single family home area, and it needs to stay that way. I believe Beverly wanted to say something as well. She's got to unmute though.
Is there anyone else that wants to speak against this?
Yes, this is Ken Krieger.
We need your address, please.
It's 16985 Sanctuary Trail, Brookfield, Wisconsin. As Destin mentioned, I own the acreage just south of this property. I think it's a nice little community to have there. They have about, I don't know, 25 or 30 single family homes. I don't understand why we would, we think about putting 2 4-family units that close. Obviously there's traffic and other concerns, and they mentioned the kids and all that. I just think it's inviting a different environment into the neighborhood that's not needed.
All right, thank you. Is there anyone else that wants to speak against this? Committee, do you have any questions?
I have a question for Larry, Town of Jackson. It sounds as though there's no other multifamily dwellings in this neighborhood.
Yeah,
That is correct.
Can you speak to that, Larry? All right,
Sorry, yes, there is.
That is correct. Since our town board meeting, and there again, I wish people would look at their agendas, what was coming up on our town board meetings and come. There was nobody against it at the town board meeting. And since that meeting, there was 2 people that were at the town board meeting that have contacted me that they were not for it. So my question is, why didn't they say something at the town board meeting? Other than that, the town, we questioned them. They gave us a good presentation, and we voted for it.
Any other questions? Randy?
I've got a question for Dustin. Dustin, it's you can have a duplex, a 2-family in that area. Why, in your opinion, would you not want? Why would it not be to have a 4-plex normally in a single-family area?
It's very standard that they allow 1 and 2 family dwellings. You're right, a single or duplex. I guess the main reason would just be is that's twice as many. The other reason a lot of times is the Uniform Dwelling Code, the UDC, applies to 1 and 2 family dwellings. Once you get into a quadplex or whatever, then you are moving into the commercial code. There's some different. It's looked at as more like an apartment building. Not that necessarily affects anybody here, but a lot of times it's strictly to limit that density is why they limit the 2 family dwellings. If that answers your.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you.
And it's a rundown.
Any other questions?
Yes, this is Mark Meyer at 383 Fox Lane.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm curious, is there enough land there to accommodate for a multifamily home for the septic and the sewer system on each lot? Since they were zoned for single family homes, I was wondering if there was enough. What is the code for that, or how does that get determined?
All right, Dusty will answer that.
It is a state sanitary code that we enforce. Their rules apply just like they do to anybody else, just like anything else at this board. Just because they get approved to have it, they still have to follow all the other rules, which means they have to be able to get a compliant septic system based on the number of bedrooms that they would be putting in there. If they can't fit it, they're bad. And at that point, they wouldn't be able to do what they wanted to do anyway. But if they are able to fit everything in there according to the state code and county code, then it would be up to they would need this committee's approval before they could do that.
Okay. Going back to what Larry had said earlier, I haven't been able to make any of the town board meetings most of my 14 years I've been here. I drive truck, I'm gone most of the time, but when I am home, it's a very peaceful neighborhood in the country. I like that. I would like to see it stay that way as single family homes. And that's the reason why I'm on the call today, just to voice my opinion on that.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone out there that wants to speak? Rocky?
Is it allowed?
Yeah, go ahead.
Is it possible or even legal to put a condition on this that it can be never be given a permit for short-term rental?
I'm good with that.
Since it is a conditional use permit request.
That's a great question, and I do not know the answer. The state statutes say that a municipality cannot prohibit somebody from doing a short-term rental. I think the only way I can answer that would be I have to find out what Corp Council's opinion is on that. I know it's not the answer you wanted to hear, but with that change in the law, I don't know the answer.
Can I speak?
I need a name. Oops.
Beverly Meyer, 383 Fox Lane, Oxford.
All right.
I just wanted to say that I'm opposed to this simply because I'm right across the street. The street that they want to put our fourplexes on is only a mile long. There's already 5 residents there, and that would be with 8 more families living there. That would be entirely too much traffic coming in and out of that little dead end road.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
Is
you.
there anyone else? Chuck?
At this time, I'd like to make a motion that we table this until Dustin can get us a good answer to Rocky's question.
We need a second for that? All right, we have a motion to table and a motion and a second to table until Dusty can get an answer to the question. Roll call vote. Okay. Did you have something, Larry?
You have to say something that we're not trying to do short-term rentals. We have no problem. It's a stipulation.
Mike's on.
I was wondering if I could ask Pickoffs a question. Is
Sure.
that proper at this time? And if so, I would like to ask him why did not want to go with a duplex over a fourplex? What was the reasoning behind that?
Just strictly revenue. It's basically what I'm going to use it for. I also have 8 acres in Oxford Lake, which I wanted to turn into something in the future also, but I'm not doing that project. What I'm trying to do is just get rental units. I just want to do long-term. It's not going to be 4 families because there's 4 units that are going to be only single people, because I'm only having 4 1-bedrooms and 4 2-bedrooms.
And it'll be long-term only.
And it'll be long-term only because I want to vet these people and make sure I'm going to get paid. You know, I don't want deadbeat renters or people that are going to be playing loud music and all this stuff. I live right across the street. These lots are right across the street to me. And also just to mention on the duplex, we do have a duplex right next door to us. It's a mobile home with an addition attached to it, and the person renting it out, who is that renting that out? I can't remember it.
I'll have to check that one out.
There is a duplex next to it, right next to me, right as we speak. That's the only reason a fourplex versus a duplex. I'm basically what I'm doing, I'm shooting for the stars. I'm shooting for trying to maximize, I'm getting it within the footprint of the land, which I'm trying to do. And I have no problem with the well of septic. That's there's gonna be zero issue on that. So, as far as that's concerned, that's all I'm trying to do. If in the end, all you're gonna let me put on a duplex, then I guess, then I'll go with a duplex.
But it's always gonna be long-term renters. No vacation rental or.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
I do want to add one thing. I know there's a motion out there to add to Randy's comment. In R1 zoning, even a duplex is a conditional use. R1 zoning only allows for single family homes. Yes. I just want to make sure that was clear.
I think you have a motion.
We have a, I don't even remember what the motion was, so.
To table.
To table it for till next month, okay. Motion to, I'm muted.
A motion to table this until next month. Roll call vote, Hannah?
Can I ask a question? What's the
Matt
date?
Reiner.
Yes.
Can I ask a question? What's the reason for tabling? What's the question that's arising? Whether I can rent it short term or versus?
No.
Yeah.
That's what it was?
And
Yeah, okay.
we don't want to do that.
Yeah.
Say it.
I mean, if you want me to stipulate on a piece of paper that I'm not gonna rent it short term, I'm not interested in short term whatsoever. It's far too much of a headache. I'd rather have a family living there 8 years, 10 years, 15 years.
It's kind of hard to have a family if they're only 2-bedroom or 1-bedroom.
Yeah, well, 1 bedroom, no family, 2-bedroom, yeah.
You're in the middle of a roll call.
Okay, we're doing roll call vote.
Gilner,
Yes.
Morgan.
Yes.
Quick.
Yes.
Yes.
Borrowed. Decent.
Yes.
Yes.
Chafee.
All right, this will be on next month's, or when Dusty can get the information for us. Okay, we're going to go on to 3TS LLC. Dusty?
The next application is rezoning request of a portion of a parcel, 6.7 acres from conservancy to recreational residential on property located in the southwest quarter, northwest quarter, CSM 2761, section 12T 15 north, range 7 east, town of Jackson. There is no property address. The applicant is online, and you can see in the maps that there's a creek that runs through his property that intersects First Lane. The area immediately around the creek is zoned, that pink is shoreline wetland, so really nothing can happen there. Once you get up above or to the northeast of the pink, it turns to green. That's the conservancy area, and that is the approximate location where he would like to build his house on the south edge of that farm field. A lot of that portion, I think the primary reason that it ended up being in conservancy was because it was also in the floodplain. The applicant has already gone through the LOMA process, and then in the application materials, you should have a map showing the portion of the property that was removed with a letter of map amendment through FEMA after having survey work done. So the portion getting rezoned would no longer be under floodplain. It is not in the wetland. And he's asking basically to have it removed out of conservancy and put into recreational residential. Is that about it, Todd?
Yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, you summarize it well. The only thing is you stated that I'm looking to build a house. That may be true someday, I'm currently not looking to build anything, but I do want to take care of this because I don't really believe that conservancy is the proper zoning for this, and I want the options that this would give me to in the future. So I think if you've got all the maps and everything I've supplied, that it pretty much says the whole story. It's not wetland. It's not anything close to wetland other than if you're standing in the creek. I do understand that the need to protect the creek, that's Nina Creek. I have no desire to do anything to damage the creek. And in fact, nothing's really going to change as far as how it's used or farmed in the short term at all. So if you've got any questions.
Any questions from the committee? Is there anyone that wants to speak for this? Is there anyone that wants to speak for this? Is there anyone that wants to speak against this? Is there anyone that wants to speak against this? It's in the committee's hands.
I'll make a motion to accept it.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second to accept. Roll call vote, Hannah, please.
Gilner,
Yes.
Quick,
Yes.
Morgan,
Yes.
Yes.
Deason, Mac Reiner,
Yes.
Yes.
Borud,
Yes.
Shapey.
Okay, this will come before the county board at 3 o'clock on the 20th of April. Okay, we'll go on for the farmland preservation update.
All right, so the next topic is farmland preservation. We did redo the maps. I sent out approximately 3,400 notices to individual property owners. Each of those property, or some of those property owners had multiple properties, so we did only send the one letter. My staff amazingly answered probably 400 to 500 calls over the last week and a half. On Good Friday, when we were closed, we had 71 voicemails. Some of those were for this, some of them were for septic pumping, but we've talked to a number of people. A lot of people were very confused or misinterpreted it, that it had something to do with the managed forest law program. This has nothing to do with managed forest law. It in no way, shape, or form affects that whatsoever. This also doesn't affect your property taxes, has nothing to do with that. What it is, as I've told the committee before, now that there's a few other people on, we're updating the mapping that if you were in, you could have been mapped as farmland preservation, but on a wooded parcel, it really wasn't accomplishing anything other than making your life more difficult if you ever did want to build on it. We did have, like I said, 400 or whatever call in, people who, maybe I missed something in the mapping and they wanted it corrected. We did that immediately. There was a number of other, there was a few instances where they felt it wasn't appropriate for their property. I did make those changes. So today's Wednesday. Last Thursday, the final draft of the map, or the last of the revisions were made on the map. I do have another approximately 20 properties that need to come out also that have come in since then. I didn't want to do it until I told the committee I was going to do that. The other thing is that there was a letter that was sent out to all Town of Easton residents, property owners, talking about they might be added or might be removed from, or might be added to farmland preservation. That is inaccurate. There was, at the time that I originally set this up, I hadn't gone to the town of Easton meeting. So I had worked on updating their map. The town of Easton has chosen to stay opted out as they have been. And their names were not removed from the mailing list. But no changes will be made in the town of Easton, no additions, no subtractions. It does not exist in the town of Easton. So there is no changes in Easton. Beyond that, there's, for the most part, people, once we explained it to them, a lot of them were very happy that we were doing this. There's, like I said, there's a little bit of confusion. We did have a call from a John Lavely. He's all for it. Then I have a couple of other letters that they just want to make sure their property was not included, and I've already taken care of that. So I got to make those couple of other changes, and that's about it. The other thing that you guys are approving would be the draft language, which is where it says draft. But the mapping is available on the website also. And I think through the letter, I told people how to get to it. So I think there was a lot of traffic to our county website GIS mapping for that purpose.
I had one question, Dusty, on the draft. You have Jackson in blue and then crossed out. Why?
Hold on. All right. So in the draft language, the section you're reading says the following towns, Jackson and the other ones they named, have opted out of farmland preservation. The town of Jackson has decided to opt in. So we are gaining an entire town in this, which was the vast majority of our calls, because everybody in the town of Jackson that is going to be mapped as farmland preservation got a "you are being added in" letter. As I've talked to a couple hundred of the property owners in the town of Jackson, there were some parcels that were included in that shouldn't have been, and those have been removed, which was the nice thing about sending out the letters. We got it pretty nailed down. I do see, looks like a few property owners from the town of Jackson on the, still on the Zoom call. But that's why it's crossed off, because they are no longer opted out.
Are there any questions from the committee for Dustin?
I have some.
Go ahead.
Jody Shapey. When it comes to the town of Jackson, just as an example, the ones that called you to request being removed from farmland preservation, did they meet all the criteria? And they just did not want to be underneath it?
The vast majority of them were the vast majority of them were wooded. And it just, when you do an entire county, you miss some. The other thing that a few of them, a number of the properties were also not zoned A1. So at that point, there's no point in being mapped, because the restrictions don't apply, the credits don't apply, nothing, or the good and the bad, nothing applies, so you might as well not be in it. The only other thing that might, I guess it's a fine line. They had a 40-acre parcel, and on the back corner, there's a 4-acre farm field. So they were included in, but it does, to me, also make sense that you're not, I think you can go either way on that. So if they requested to be out, they're out.
May I ask a couple questions?
We'll get to the citizens once the committee is done with questions.
Any more questions from the committee? Jody?
Sorry. So in chapter 6 of farmland preservation, the goal is to promote working forests and farms, to minimize the conversion of agricultural lands into other uses. encourage retaining large contiguous agricultural tracts, work to preserve farming and forestry as viable occupations within the county. When you did the remapping, you were taking out wooded areas. Is that correct? Whether you could necessarily identify them as old pine plantations or wooded areas, I thought that was your goal.
It was. So the wooded, your typical woods were removed. If it was clear that was a pine plantation, they stayed in. And a lot of the calls that I received were people who had it in managed forest law. And that is, I think, a 40-year contract or something like that. And a lot of them, we talked about, hey, I farm it, kind of what you're saying. Once we started talking, they weren't even close to meeting the definition of the farm. Plus, the ones in managed forest law they have a lot more restrictions than our program would, than farmland preservation would ever apply to them. So, I mean, I did try to limit it to ag and clearly an ag, Christmas tree farm or something like that. And I know there's a few of those in there.
It seems like we're spot.
Unmute. Okay, it seems like we're spot farmland preservation. Aren't we, am I muted? No. Aren't we actually no longer in the mode of preserving then by doing this? So let's say I own a 40-acre parcel in town of Jackson and I own an adjacent 40-acre parcel in Jackson. One now is under farmland preservation and the other one is woods and isn't. What protects that 40 from me just jumping ship and going over and saying, well, I can't do anything with this 40, but I can do something with this 40. And they're both technically A1.
Okay, so if they're both, they may both be A1, but the question is, are you farming both of them? Or do you have a farm field and a wood?
A farm field and a woods, but there's nothing then that would stop me from clear cutting my woods that was excluded from farmland preservation and doing what I want with it. So we're not really conserving that aspect of agricultural land.
Correct, but it's not in, it's either probably not mapped as future use farmland.
Sorry.
I'm getting an echo. If it's not currently in farmland and you have a 40 that is in farmland, the entire idea of farmland preservation is to get you off the farm field, have you build your house someplace else. If you want to clear cut it and put it into a farm field, you could do that whether you're in farmland preservation or not. And then if you want to take the tax credits, you could apply to become part of farmland preservation, which would then put those restrictions on both 40s. But if you had a 40 and you had a little 5-acre woods up in the corner, and you would have to come to this committee right now and say, hey, I'd like to build my house. The committee really should say you have to build in that woods. Leave the farm field.
Okay, so then the last question I have for you. Is it fair to assume moving forward now that everybody knows what farmland preservation, their limits are, the restrictions and whatever, is it fair to assume that if someone comes before us for a rezone, and unless it's an amazing reason why, they should have been aware of the restrictions and how do we proceed?
Well, there's always going to be the amazing.
But the reason we're even looking at this was that there was a number of rezones.
Right. You're not going to prevent all the rezones. Life circumstances change, properties change hands. 5 years from now, something unforeseen came up. The primary goal of this was it's going to eliminate about 90-95% of those requests we've had because they were all wooded. Like I said, in the last year and a half, we were actually only had one that I think was ag field or more ag related. The rest should not have even had to come here, I guess is my thought. You're still going to have it if so-and-so, God, the farm is losing money this year. Milk prices are down. I need to sell off 5 acres to build. Okay, let's rezone it to A3, in which case the farmland preservation doesn't matter anyway, because you just switched it to A3. You're still going to have them. And then you also have the situation that I said before, where you have a 40-acre parcel with a 5-acre woods up in the corner. They have to come to the rezone or go through this process. And at that point, it's really the committee to say, that's the 5 acres you need to build in. And at that point, the rezone was a good process because you still preserve the farmland and they still get to build their house. Is kind of my thought process on it.
Any other questions from the
Thank you.
committee? All right, we'll open it out to the public. Are there any questions for the public? I need your name, your address, and you'll be limited to 3 minutes.
Yes, William Euclid, Town of Adams. Hello.
We can hear you, Bill.
Go ahead, Bill.
This was a concern with our town. Matter of fact, we asked Dustin to make this adjustment simply because we were being sort of deluged with changes that we didn't like seeing. Our whole purpose is to try to keep parcels large, and what was happening is people that never knew they were in the farmland preservation were now wanting to build a house, and they had to go through this whole land division. Some of these people, it was costing them $1,000 or more because they were having it surveyed. They had to go through all the requests, things of that sort. So we said, this should not be happening. Matter of fact, we even questioned Dustin whether or not the town of Adams had legally been notified, and the previous director of that department evidently never mailed us anything. So we did not know, other than maybe something that was published in the paper, that this occurred. I will tell you, my own personal thing is my land is in MFL. There is no way I could meet the stipulation to be in farmland preservation. You have to make X amount of dollars per year. You have to have a nutrient management plan. You have to go through a number of different steps. So even though I am in, at this time, farmland preservation, I could not use it, but it does hinder me from doing other things with my property. So I would suggest strongly, and I think our whole town board also indicated with a letter, that this should be adapted and this change is taking place because it's handicapping our residents. So thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Anybody else that wants to speak on this?
I'd like.
Somebody is trying?
Well, I would like to speak. I'm Bill Wimmer. I live on 3076 County Road A in Oxford, Wisconsin. And I was included in the farmland that was the town of Jackson opted into the program. I don't know why they opted into the program. Maybe they can answer that. But this is a very busy time of the year for farmers. And I'm wondering, I opted out of the program. I just called up and opted out. And I've had farmers talk to me that can they still opt out of the program, or is this crunch time?
Everybody that called, I mean, the purpose of the public hearing is that's kind of the deadline. And anybody that called, there was a couple of people that were discussing whether they wanted some of those partial 40s or whatever to be included. And the deadline we gave everybody was this morning to let us know. I guess it's up to the committee if we feel that there's a number of these. I guess I feel that everybody got very sufficient notice. And if you are farming, if you are actively farming right now, there are really no additional requirements for you.
No, that's why I'm wondering. I'm A1. It's fairly restricted to farming as it is. Why would the town of Jackson opt into this program? I don't understand it.
Sure. So the primary reason is, well, the idea of the program is to adopt, or excuse me, to preserve farmland. By them adopting, as of today, in the town of Jackson, you as a farmer cannot claim a income tax credit on your farmland. It's a $7.50 per acre per year income tax credit. You are not eligible for that because there is no farmland preservation mapped in the town of Jackson currently. If this was to be approved today, and then at full county board, and your property, and you're mapped in, and you're mapped as A1, like you said, it was restrictive, and you have a nutrient management plan, and you are considered an operating farm, you are now eligible to take that income tax credit.
I understand that. I just thought that it was done a little bit too fast for some. I know a couple of farmers have brought it up to me and asked, well, when's the date on this? And I said, well, I don't know. I'm going to go to the meeting and find out. Now I find out that it may be today, and they may lose out if they want to opt out of the program. And I guess my question would be, maybe this is a little bit too sudden for some people to make a decision. I've already opted out personally.
And we have been working on this since about October. And I know there's been a big write-up, or there was a part of a write-up in the paper, and it was published in the paper. And we, like I said, we sent out 3,500 or 3,700 notices to individuals about this.
Right, I got the notice.
And so did everybody else in the town of Jackson.
Right.
Dusty?
Larry?
I'd like to respond to that. The town of Jackson, up until now, you did not have the opportunity to opt in and get the $7 an acre tax credit if you were actively farming. And the town of Jackson felt that we were restricting our active farmers. So if you wanted to go through the nutrient plan and be eligible for it, we opted in as a town board.
And I can also, to the gentleman I was just talking, the only restriction difference is whether you can build a house or not. If the house is occupied by the operator of a farm or their kids or a direct family member, it's not an issue. They can still build. If they're going to want to sell off a 40 to somebody else who isn't going to farm, and they wanted to build a house on there, currently they would not be able to, but the process is still available to apply to rezone the property.
Okay. All right.
It doesn't really change any other uses available or allowed in that district. In fact, the district is still considered A1. It's either A1 with farmland preservation or A1 without farmland preservation. The difference is who can build a house.
Okay. Yeah, I guess the thing that got me when I read the letter was the restrictions, and I'm thinking, well, A1, I'm fairly restricted right now. So now we're throwing another layer on there, basically.
I think some of that was misunderstood because I'm A1. I'm not in farmland preservation, basically because mine's all woods, and I don't make $6,000 a year off the farm. So I would never qualify anyway.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Anybody else that wants to say anything?
This is Ken Krieger again, 16985 Sanctuary Trail in Brookfield. I did call Dustin. I was one of the several hundred that said, hey, my land is woods and I really don't want to be in the farmland preservation. And he was kind enough to say it's off. He would take it off. My question is, the map that's on the website is pretty hard to decipher. How, after the fact, will you know definitively if your land's in the farmland preservation arena or not?
Dusty?
Once I get those last, like I said, 2025, which you're part of that list. Once I get the GIS to update that map, you should be able to go on in a couple of days and see that. If the committee approves it today, then it does have to get approved by the full county board on the 20th. At that point, if you go on the 21st, that is the official done map. But if, I said I take yours off, it's off. I've already done that with quite a few others in the town of Jackson. Again, mostly wooded properties.
So that is the definitive method. You gotta go to the website, look at the map. There's no piece of paper anyplace that's gonna be issued or anything.
There won't be anything, no, but if you wanted if you called my office and wanted me to print a copy or print that screen, then I can do that. Eventually, when we do update, I have to go through the planning commission or the North Central Regional Planning. Eventually, I'm thinking they will make a binder of it or a new book, the entire plan. And it would have a hard copy of the map, but that's even going to be, that's tiny. The website is the official mapping.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions?
Dustin, I'm just curious if we approve it today and it goes in front of county board on the 20th, could we give the stragglers until April 20th delay kind of thing, or is that not appropriate to opt in or out, or however you're wording that?
I wouldn't wait until the 20th. What is today, the 7th? I mean, if we did it by the 14th, just to make sure Sam has time to update it, that's fine. I guess I wouldn't be opposed to that. When you approve it, I guess I would mention in your motion, we're not changing the plan, the language in the plan, but there may be additional mapping changes to be made, which I already know there has to be a couple. But we're not going to go property by property specific today anyway. I guess at some point it's somewhat leave it in my discretion to do that. But I'm fine with the 14th, like next Wednesday. Would that, and now I've already forgot the first person that was talking's name. Mr. Zimmer, would that be satisfactory?
Well, yes, I've opted out. I think it would be good from the farmers I've talked to. They were kind of didn't realize the urgency of this thing. And I think they would appreciate that opportunity.
I can tell you I won't be sending out another letter though. So it'll have to be by word of mouth.
Well, I'll tell the people I know.
All right.
Maybe our town board should have done a little more getting the word out to people.
And I was at the town board, but I was on the agenda specifically for this. I guess that is another thing I should mention. I have gone to almost every town. I have not been to the town of Monroe. They wanted me to wait until after elections. And I am going to the town of Preston tonight. And the town of Richfield didn't want me to come. All the other towns that I did go to were all in favor of it. They really, I mean, it made a lot of sense. Clean up the program. So it seemed like the ones that, let me clarify that, the ones that are in farmland preservation currently were very excited about it. So, so it was well received on the township level or on the town level. Sorry, just had to throw that in.
Okay. Well, committee, we need a motion.
This is not good. Go ahead.
We have to have a motion to accept the changes, the wording changes and the maps of that he's proposing. for farmland preservation. You have to state it's for that.
Okay. If I could remember, I move to accept the changes in the maps for the farm and preservation. Is that correct?
Did that cover it all? Okay. Any map changes, they have 7 days.
Sorry, in addition to that motion, it would say, and no map changes can happen after February or April 14th.
Okay, we need a second.
Oh,
I'll second that. I'm getting mutilized today.
All right, we have a motion and a second to accept the words and the maps with changes not exceeding next, is that the 14th? April 14th? Yes, okay. No changes after April 14th on the maps. If they want map changes, they have to contact Dusty. We have a motion and a second. Roll call vote, Hannah?
Morgan.
Yes.
Shapey.
Yes.
Gilner.
Yes.
Bird.
Yes.
Thiessen.
Yes.
Quick.
Yes.
Mac Reiner.
yes.
All right, this will go before the county board on April 20th at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. That'll end our public hearings. Now we have to have review and approval of the preliminary plats for Bighorn Acres and Trout Valley Pines.
I'm leaving this one for Jerry. I've talked enough.
Who's going to speak on this? I'm just hearing him. I'm not hearing him through this.
Okay, how about now? Okay. These are rather large lot subdivisions, over 5 acres for the lots. Town of Big Flats, I believe, for both of them. These are the preliminaries. There's some changes that need to be done to them that I've noticed. But again, they, as a whole, generally for a preliminary plat, they meet our ordinance. So I would recommend that we approve the preliminaries, and then we'll get the changes made that need to be done, and you'll get another crack at it when they finish the finals.
Second.
We have a motion to approve and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, you're approved, Jerry.
Thank you.
Okay. Discussion on eliminating the Conservancy District in the Shoreland ordinance. Okay.
I think 2 of the rezones today would have been not even heard if we have this, but I don't know what's on deck for next month.
Some of them from today.
Yeah,
But I mean, anything to
should be
do
a
with
lot less.
conservancy?
I'm not doing anything.
This was a
This-
discussion.
All right. Let's briefly discuss it and we'll see where it goes. All right, so the question, because when you look at some of the districts in shoreline zoning, for example, shoreline wetland, there is a map that the DNR creates. It's called the Wisconsin Wetland Inventory Map. We take that map, overlay it on ours. That is the wetland district. And the district specifically says this is how we came up with that. In the Conservancy District, there is no such definition. There is, but it's very vague. Areas generally characterized by wetland, but not all wetland. It can be upland. It's a very vague district. And the best I can tell from the research I've done 30, 40 years ago, whenever it was, the state came up with a conservancy map for the entire state and said, here's where we think you should save. And a lot of it included floodplains or low wetlands. And at the time, we adopted it. And those areas are in conservancy. So the question becomes, is that how we want to continue? Still having a conservancy district. Maybe I should look at the mapping more and, are these areas, do they make sense to be in conservancy? We don't have conservancy district in the comprehensive zoning ordinance. That's only in the shoreline ordinance. A lot of the areas that are floodplain are mapped as conservancy. Well, you have to meet the floodplain ordinance in order to do anything there. If you can't, then it doesn't matter if it's conservancy or not. The floodplain ordinance already kind of took care of it. If you get a LOMA to get you taken out of the floodplain, well, at that point, why did the conservancy apply? Because it's not in the floodplain anymore. So there's a lot of questions as far as that goes. You look like you want to say something.
These are the maps.
Should have been 1970, but right close. I mean, maybe conservancy was done in 76.
And then these maps were also created by each town board, I believe, you gave it, at that time, I think they gave it to each town board, and then they color penciled along where they thought it should be. That's what we're talking about, correct?
I thought the maps were created back then. Some student group up at Stevens Point went through and did that, didn't they? I don't think it was town boards.
Usually the town boards do the comprehensive zoning map.
But not
where
this.
You would go parcel by parcel. Under shoreline zoning, I guess that doesn't sound, I'm not saying you're wrong. I never heard that.
Yeah.
But I would also, based on how they worded the definite or the vague definition, I can't locate where the original information came from. Let's put it that way. So how any given property or why any given property has that designation on it, I have no idea, which is my other concern.
So Dustin, does wetland and floodplain and shoreland take out of consideration conservancy? I mean, are we covering some of our bases with the wetland and whatnot? Was conservancy first and then wetland and whatnot came after, and it was just kind of a duplication? What are we eliminating by eliminating conservancy? Are we still covered?
Wetland covers a lot. I mean, the way the maps are, it still shows as a lot as conservancy. But there's definitely a lot of it that's covered by wetland. The stuff that's mapped as shoreline wetland is entirely wetland. The conservancy, that's where you're going to get into, you give me about 2 seconds here. I can show you a good example. Can you have me share my screen? Look at you go. And that's why I keep her around. Okay, how do I show?
Question, if you're in gallery view and he takes control, does that go away? Just temporarily. Okay, good. I just wanted to make sure you need to do that temporarily.
All right, so can everybody see my screen?
Yep.
Okay. So we had a rezone here last month before. This is out on F, just west of town. So you have, that's an entire subdivision there. This is the one where every lot has its own pond. For whatever reason up here at the top, it's part of a subdivision. You have 8 lots there that are, well, more than 8. A dozen lots that are mapped as conservancy. There's nothing different between those lots and the lots 50 feet to the south. How did we come up with that? Now, is there some area up here? And this is a big area. I think it's a lot of low ground. And if it's low ground, if it's wetland, you wouldn't be able to build in it anyway. One of the other interesting things that has come up is that in conservancy, camping is not a permitted use for whatever reason. You can't in wetlands either, but conservancy is a very, there's not even supposed to be ag use in conservancy. Other than harvesting wild rice, I think. Something to that effect. For the south 15 acres. Yep. So you can see where these little yellow boxes are. Well, those have all gone through that rezone, and we did have to extend that one out because he couldn't quite fit his garage in the original box. The county does have a fair amount of area mapped as conservancy. It's that light green. You can kind of, and then it went away. I might be able to fix that. There. So there's dirt.
What's the pink? Is that
Wetland. Pink is wetland, green is conservancy, and yellow is residential or recreational residential. There is another district called general purpose, and we don't have, that's kind of more like your business district. We don't have a ton of it on the shoreline. I believe further north there is some of it, but not much. So I guess maybe it's something that the committee can think about, how we kind of want to go toward, I mean, what we see the future looking like for that, and maybe circle back to it next month or coming up soon. But now you guys know what, like Jody is in my conversation was, and where we're, you know, the thought process behind it, and now you guys have seen it, you know, what you think.
Now, Dusty, do you think that the places that really need to be protected are already under the other, under wetland and shoreland?
I think then you're getting into the question of what do you feel should be protected?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a personal decision amongst, you know, each of you, you know, yeah, I really want to protect all the wetlands I can, or the ski hill, or.
Can it include other things like Rattlesnake Bluff, Quincy? Right, but I'm just saying, if we were to step back and say, you know what, I think we should spot conservancy in these prime locations and maybe eliminate the ones that really don't make sense. I'm just throwing it out there. I don't know.
And that's certainly one of the directions we can go is, okay, let's take a year or whatever, actually sit down and, hey, yeah, these are landmarks and we really should protect those. And you know what, this area is really important because of whatever. And, you know, maybe just keep the district, but yeah, get it more reflective of what we feel is important. And then it also becomes easier when somebody wants to rezone away from that. Here's why it's there. Right now, I can't answer that.
Now, this doesn't have to be done right away, so we can reflect on it for the next few months.
Absolutely. Yeah, this is something that I'll be glad Farmland Preservation is done and we can work on this for the next year. And
Yeah.
So we can kind of go home, think about what is like landmark value wise or whatever, and then maybe bring that back to the committee.
we can throw it back on the agenda. And I don't see camping stuff coming back on until November. So we got, we can keep working on this stuff, and I'm good with that. I don't think you need a motion or anything. We'll just plan on putting it on the agenda next month.
I think so. Jerry, since it's almost 6 o'clock, would you like to give your report?
That's good.
So if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Well, I did read it. I thought it was self-explanatory. Thank you, Jerry, for waiting with us.
You're welcome.
Well, we used you anyway. We needed you for a few things.
It was interesting.
Okay. Jody, are you on?
Yep. Yes,
All
I
right.
am.
It's your turn.
All right. I got almost my whole yard raked, so I was waiting, but that's good. For the Register Deeds Office activities, I was able to work with Jim Bilecki, and he got us a meeting with the architect on the building plan. So I do appreciate his effort on doing that, and we were able to make the changes that were necessary. We're still working on a couple of minor things, but I think we can come up with a resolution for that. So I think that's going along well. I'm very happy about that. And as Hannah and Dusty can tell you, and Jerry, that we have had a lot of certified survey maps running through the approval process. We did meet as a CSM review group just to see if things were going as we want them to go. And I think they are. I think that's working out really well. We're getting them in and out quickly. And I think the surveyors do appreciate that. So that's been a good thing. I have never had so many plats since about 2005, maybe. So my staff had not had plats, and when I was off for my hip replacement in February, they got one or two of them in, and so they got a good education, and I guess I'm glad that I put down some really good instructions for how to prepare a plat for recording and to how to put it into the system and things like that. So that's been going well. So that's it for Register Deeds activities. Let me go right into land information.
Yes.
Okay. The 3-year plan is due for land information. We used to be 5 years, and now it's every 3 years. So I do have a meeting scheduled in early May with the land information group. To basically, the plan's going to probably remain pretty much the same, except that we will address what we've done for current projects, and if we've completed them, we'll take them off the list or show that they've been completed and move on to some future projects. A couple of things that have been mentioned is culvert collection as being one which would benefit Adams County as well as the municipalities. We just have to work out some details. We wanted to wait until our LiDAR and aerial photography was done, which it is, and then work with AIRS to identify the initial group of culverts and then identify who will be doing the data collection for the culverts. The county obviously will be able to handle theirs, but how we need to work with the municipalities on, even once we collect them, what happens to them and how does the maintenance notification get to the county and things like that. So we got a lot of details to work out on that, but it's a good start for that. And that's pretty much it.
Thank you, Jody. Okay, we'll go on to the financial report then. Are there any
All right.
questions? Go ahead,
Yeah,
Dusty.
we're doing good. We're doing good on money. We're doing good on permits. We're on the same pace as last year for everything.
I can't believe the amount.
How many new homes? Yeah. I think it was like 19, wasn't it? Who said 19? Oh. Yeah. So 19 new home permits this year, and that's at a substantial markup and not markup, increase in price. All right, that's all I got for my stuff.
Oops, planning and zoning updates.
I'll update you next month. No, we have taken care of a few court violations, so we are moving ahead there. And, or resolved a few. Our court counsel is doing a great job right now. And other than that, we sent out our notices for septic pumping last week. And the week before, we sent out the notices for farmland preservation, and all of us are on the phone pretty much nonstop.
Correspondence.
None.
You have 1 minute.
Yeah, I got nothing.
I need 1 minute.
Oh, boy.
No, I just want to compliment our planning and zoning and the septic thing. You look at the other counties like Sauk, Columbia, you get a postcard out there that says you have 90 days to pump, there is no other notice, and it's a postcard about that big. That's it.
We used to use those, and the number of them that got lost when they go through that mail machine, they get shredded. We get them back in little Ziploc bags. So it takes more effort to do it this way, but it's well worth it. And our compliance rate is sky high. So I think it's going to prove to work really well.
Our next meeting is May 5th. Do you want to continue having it at 3 or do you want to move to 4? It's up to you guys that are working. You want to meet at 4?
I'm good with 3 right now. I mean, we're gonna have some more big ones coming up next month. We're gonna have Bill's Camping Resort, we're gonna have Chad, we're gonna have, when you guys get your shop, we shack together. Let's go 3 next month.
Okay.
Unless somebody else wants 4. I'm good with 4 or 3.
I'm good at either one.
I'm trying to help you guys.
I'm good at either one. It's daylight longer. I have to be, okay, we are adjourned then.